Dubs in the chat. That is correct. Jane, glad to see you already over in the chat. Jacob chatting as well from his desktop. I mean, Jacob, we're live.
We are.
We are live. And thank you guys all for being here. Welcome back to United Front. My name, of course, is Seth Bidoff. Joining me this evening, the man who plans out our agendas each and every week, the one, the only Jacob Terrell. Jacob, we had a plan, but something happened tonight, and I think this is how.
Doesn't matter. There are only 4 rules you need to remember. Make the plan, execute the plan, expect the plan to go off the rails, throw away the plan.
Pretty much.
Now, of course, we'll still talk about the Vegas match, and we'll still look forward to El Paso, and we'll still touch on some other things. But, big news about an hour and a half, 2 hours before we went live here. Peter Tenorio from The Athletic puts out an article that says that in today's vote, USL owners voted in what I believe they called a super majority, which probably means all but like 1 or 2, to approve of Pro Rel in the USL. And so,
yeah, this is. Did not expect this on a Tuesday night. We were ready to go. And since this news has dropped, we've reached out to try to get some representation on the show this evening to discuss it. But unfortunately, we can't get anyone this evening. We're hopefully going to have someone next week joining us to talk more about this vote, about promotion relegation. But yeah, over on The Athletic, Paul Tenorio, not Peter Tenorio, put out this article, like you said, about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, saying the expectations, again, it reiterates the expectations of the 3rd USL division to be starting in 2028. And we're assuming that this is when Pro Rel is going to come into effect as well. Many of us are familiar with promotion relegation as we follow other leagues around the world. England, Italy, Germany, pretty much every other major national sporting football association has some form of promotion relegation. Unless, of course, you're Mexico, then you just buy your way to stay in the upper league. So we're all familiar with how this works. We're all familiar with the idea of promoting up if you win, relegating down if you lose. I mean, Jacob, maybe it's just me, but this is, we've postulated, we've speculated, we've talked about the possibility of this. I think this is a significant vote, a significant moment for the USL and U.S. soccer going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's not insignificant by any means. They've had some votes on it in the past that haven't passed. Which makes sense. Why would a championship team vote for Pro Rel when there's nowhere to go but down? But as we talked about a few weeks ago with the USL Premier, or whatever the Division 1 league is going to be called, as they kind of enter the chat and become a possibility, now these USL championship teams are like, okay, well, we don't know who's going to be in the Division 1 to start off with. So they're only going to let, 12, 14 teams in. Then if we want to get up there and we're not one of those initial 12 or 14 teams, then we have to, we want that Pro Rel system so that we can fight our way into the thing. So I think it is a significant step, but there is still so much that's going to go into all of it before we actually see it in effect, or even see it possibly in effect. I think this vote lays the groundwork so that between now and 2027, 2028, when we hopefully go to implement that Division 1 league, we can have everything ironed out so we can kick it off at that time. But we're still years away from seeing that. We're still a shit ton of hurdles away from it actually being in place. And so we will see. So not to be like a Debbie Downer or a naysayer or whatever. It's just, there's a lot more going on there's a lot more to it before we actually see it implemented. And there's a ton of hurdles that we've got to pass before it can get implemented. And I would imagine that, albeit the owners voted for it and approved it now, we'll see if that stands legally in 4 years or what. Who knows? And also, what does MLS do? Like, MLS is a big player in this, and unfortunately, they have a controlling stake in a lot of U.S. Soccer Federation shit, and so they could do their best to throw up some roadblocks that could cause some issues as well. So, a lot to be discussed. But on a positive side, I can't wait till New Mexico United is in Division One, and we're watching El Paso go down and then down and then down again. So, yeah.
Yeah, so a couple of things of note. If you didn't read the article over on The Athletic or New York Times, or whatever you want to call it now, I did post that over in the chat, so check that out when you get a chance. First of all, it says here that they didn't have enough votes in 2023 to enough support to bring us to a vote in 2023, which we knew. We had heard that. And it says that the positive reaction to the Division One announcement helped spur a number of owners to take action on this and move in a positive way towards change. What do you think it was about that announcement of getting Division One sanctioning that kind of pushed the owners to be like, okay, this is something that we need to take seriously and look at?
I think what I mentioned earlier, there's 24 teams in the USL Championship. There are only going to be 12 or 14 in the Division One. And if those other 12 to 10 owners want a piece of that Division One pie, they're going to have a back door in there, which I think is pro rel. Without that pro rel, then if you don't get moved into the first division right away, then you're stuck in the championship. There's nowhere to go up. So I think it was hey, we're gonna do this, like dangle this carrot over here, and the only way to get it is either be one of the first 12 or 14 teams or pro rel. And so I think that's a huge motivating factor, as well as like I think there's a ton of smart owners. Peter's a smart owner, and wants to do certain things. And there's the Division One news is big news, but if you can pair that with pro rel on the heels of a World Cup in the United States, on the heels of a league that is growing year after year after year that we already see, then you can actually maybe capitalize on some of that soccer growth in America for that league. And I think pro rel plus Division One are the best ways to do that. So my guess is it's a combination of, hey, if you want to be D1 and you're not selected to begin with, here's a way you can get in. And also owners going, hey, we bought in for super cheap, relatively speaking, for these USL Championship clubs. And if this D1 thing takes off, and then we move up to D1, whether it's right away or during pro rel, and soccer in America is already on an upward trajectory as far as popularity, and it continues to do that after a World Cup, then we can capitalize on this investment that we made, and our ROI on that particular investment will be through the roof.
Yeah, a couple of comments over in the chat about Pete and him needing to comment. I mean, we've known for years that Pete has been positive on pro rel. We know that Ron is on the yes side of pro rel, and they both believe that it will help grow the sport, help grow the league, help grow the talent within, not just USL, but the US soccer pyramid as a whole. Jacob, you talked about what MLS might do in response to this. Well, to be perfectly honest, I don't know that that MLS could do anything to stop USL. I don't know that they could throw any particular roadblocks, because yes, we know that MLS basically controls US soccer. We know that, but if US soccer wants to be taken seriously, they want their sanctioning to be taken seriously, there is no reason that you can't have two first division leagues operating as separate entities. There's no reason that you can't. Now, USL is going to have to build up and meet the requirements, or USSF is going to have to change those requirements somewhat to make sure that USL remains compliant. But I think this more so is going to force MLS to be reactionary and have to implement something of their own. Because right now you have MLS and you have Next Pro. There's nothing in between. Mm-hmm. So MLS couldn't even take a step to do anything, any sort of their own pyramid between. I mean, now granted, to be fair, they could announce, "Hey, we're going to do a Division II here, next season." Now, are they going to have enough clubs? Probably not, unless you had every single two teams suddenly become Division II. But then who goes up and down? Are you going to have NYCFC and NYCFC2 both in the Premier Division or the top division, whatever you want to call it? I don't care what they call it. But I think this is what it is. I think this is the future of U.S. soccer. And I really want to see USL succeed in this. And I think to an extent they already are. Because again, in this article, it talks about the USL Championship final viewership compared to the MLS Cup final.
Mm-hmm.
Those numbers are not far off. Now, to be fair, Apple Plus is not included in this, but you've only got a difference of about 30,000 viewers between MLS and USL Cup finals. Now, is that a failure on MLS's part? I absolutely think so. Is it a win for USL? Absolutely. So I think there's a lot of good things that come out of this for USL, and I don't see MLS, if they were to try to do something in a negative light to try to stop this from happening.
Okay,
I think that's a bad look for MLS.
But you're going under the assumption that it's going to happen above the table, and it's actually going to come out to light.
Whatever it is they do.
There are just so many things that I could see happening, whether it's above the table or below the table. Because I believe Space Kid is correct for once. Just kidding, Space Kid. That the Soccer Federation can just be like, yeah, no, even if you have all the requirements, and that could come. They could make some silly excuses about this, that, or the other, or they could say that anyways. But the truth could be told is Don Garber paid him off, or this happened, or that happened. So I'm optimistic and excited for what is happening with USL right now. That being said, we're still 4 years away. A lot can happen both positively and negatively for this. And so while it is a big announcement tonight and the owners are on board, there are still so many things that we've got to figure out before it actually goes in place that I'm going to focus on the here and now, which is a win in Vegas and El Paso coming up, and then this current iteration of the USL Championship. While at least that'll be in the front of my brain, the back of my brain, I can be thinking long term about this stuff. But it's big news, but there's still red flags or caution tape around it, in my opinion. So, Christina, you are here at least spiritually.
I did take the effort to find a picture, at least.
You did, and a great one at that.
I can try to be on camera. Can you see me? No.
I just see black. No, the picture works fine.
Yeah. Comical. Hey,
for those that are curious, Christina doesn't have power like maybe some of you in the chat up in Albuquerque. So
yeah, this wind has been something. Couldn't even see the mountains.
Yeah,
it's yuck. Yeah,
I couldn't see my lake, and I live literally less than half a mile from it, and I couldn't see the lake. So
I feel like this is a tangent, but sort of on topic is Oakland and the number of tickets they've sold for their upcoming match. And I don't know, it just seems like it's a sign of, if a community wants it, they're going to go for it. And the fact that whatever hubbub is happening as far as professional teams in Oakland and the people who live there just being really unhappy, they're showing up to support the professional team that is still sticking around. So I don't know. I think MLS is all about the money. But I think USL, maybe grassroots side of things, the fans just want to, have a team to cheer on. And I think Pro Real makes it real exciting for a fan. That excitement of, is my club going to be promoted? Are they going to stay where they are? Are they going to get relegated? I mean, that just brings a whole new dynamic to the fan base too. So I don't know. I think hopeful, but like you guys said, it's a long time coming.
So yeah, like Space Kid said, the federation does still have final say on whether or not Division One sanctioning happens for USL or whatever their new league is going to be called. The reporting that's been out there has said that the federation is in favor of it and is willing to support USL and what they're trying to do. Now, when you look at all of this, potential D1 sanctioning, promotion, relegation, what it means for US soccer is once this goes into place, US soccer is going to have to make some changes. CONCACAF is going to have to make some changes because that would affect not only, it would affect not only the structure of the USL pyramid, it would affect what MLS is going to do and the US soccer pyramid as a whole. It's also going to have a significant impact on what happens to, say, CONCACAF Champions League and who gets those spots, because MLS, if you've got a second Division One league, some of those spots that are MLSs are going to have to go over to the other Division One league. So I think there's a lot. And you're right. There are some things that are going to have to be worked out. The federation is going to have to look at a lot of different things. MLS is either going to have to figure something else out on their own, or maybe eventually, if USL is successful in this endeavor, maybe something happens between the two leagues and we just see one consolidated pyramid at some point in the future. Now, that's probably 10 years down the road, if anything. But there's a lot of positives to take away from this.
I think that's one way that MLS can put a kibosh to this, is to pro rel in general, because MLS doesn't want pro rel. They're not going to do it. There's too much money in MLS for it to be beneficial for anybody over there. But what I could see is MLS throwing a crap ton of money at the USL and saying, hey, come be the second division under MLS instead of as its own entity. And then it would just kill pro rel right there. Now, depends on how much money they throw out and how much USL and the USL owners care about a big check, or if they want to try to compete. And I think they would try to compete even still, unless it was an obscene amount of money. But it is that was one thing that crossed my mind as far as what they could do to try to put a kibosh to that.
Or potentially even farther out there, MLS buys USL as is with the promotion relegation pyramid intact. And you take some conglomeration of MLS, USL Premier, that's your new Division One. Then you have Championship, League One, League Two, Next Pro, and just you got 5 tiers right there. Now the thing is, you'd have to be fully professional, top to bottom, which would still force MLS into making significant changes at the lower levels in order to make that happen. But I mean, the idea of promoting up into a Premier League is exciting for anybody. The heartbreak of relegation, the stress that comes with a team almost being relegated, right? Tottenham fan.
What? I'm sorry.
The heartbreak that comes with being a Tottenham fan who's about to be relegated. We're not
going to be relegated. You guys were right there last year. You can't talk.
That is true. Well, we're 17 points clear now, so I'll take it. But no, there's a lot that goes with it. A lot of buy-in has to happen at all different levels, from the fans to the owners to the CEO of the league. It has to. Some Saudi prince comes in and buys USL. I mean, it's entirely possible. But to that point, I think it was Space Kid mentioned big time investors. Look at the names that are now investing in American soccer. Tons of pro athletes are now investing in American soccer leagues and American soccer clubs. Look at we talked with Las Vegas Lights, Joey Batista. You've got Marshawn Lynch, you've got JJ Watt, you've got all these guys that are investing and buying into American soccer clubs and doing what they can to help make them be successful.
Even Ronaldinho, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like a USL League One team.
Yep, he has. Yeah,
I will say those are big names, athletes do have a lot of money. They do not have the money of a lot of MLS owners, though. So there is definitely excitement and buzz around it, and some financial backing. Again, I think it's going to happen. I'm playing devil's advocate tonight. That's my role. And so just splashing some cold water on everything for right now, just in case. I just don't want to be the guy that's like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then it doesn't happen. And then I'm like depressed for years.
Some talk over the chat about salary caps and roster. I can throw a roster structure in there as well. We can all agree MLS roster structure is just absolutely stupid, and nobody understands it. Nobody understands the salary cap. Nobody understands, the rules about GAM, TAM, HAM, designated players, international players, homegrown. But nobody understands all of it. Maybe Itamar, who we've talked to, but even then, I think Itamar told us that it's a mess, that the rules are so complicated when it comes to MLS spending and all of that you have to really finagle pieces around to make it work. Whereas with USL, yes, you have designated players, you have international slots. Well, not so designated players, but you have international spots that can be traded and sold. You have roster, you have roster spots for academy kids, which makes sense. USL salary structure and salary cap and roster construction is far easier to understand. And I think it's far more accessible to the everyday fan than someone trying to get into soccer via MLS. Jacob, you okay over there?
Yeah. Greenville and Asheville are in PKs. So I was hoping for a cup set, but Asheville just hit the crossbar and it bounced out. And so if Greenville makes this last PK, then it's over and Greenville moves on. So
yes, Greenville triumph. Yes,
Greenville triumph from League One.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in case you weren't following along, in the middle of all this, U.S. Open Cup round 1 is happening tonight. Tournament proper is in effect. Do we have any closing thoughts, either of you, Christina or Jacob, on Pro Rel coming, or are we good to save the rest? And hopefully, because I'll tell you, we're trying to get someone from the club on tonight. Couldn't make it happen tonight because of the late breaking news. We're going to try our best to have someone on next week to help us talk about what it means for United and the league as a whole. Christina, do you have anything?
No, I was just going to say, 4 years is a long time. A lot can happen. So cautiously optimistic.
Agreed. 4 years a lot can happen both ways. So I agree.
First, we need our stadium.
Yeah. From a strictly United perspective, as well as a lot of other teams, obviously in the USL, the requirements for D1 and all that are going to be the biggest hurdle, because not very many teams, even the top tier teams like Lou City, I don't believe meet fully the standards that USSF has for stadium and this and that and the other. So there's definitely work to be done there, whether it's the stadium requirements kind of coming down or USL championship teams building up or whatever. But at least now, since it passed this vote, the big positive that I take away is it passed the vote. And so now teams can work towards getting to that status, whether it's the stadium or whatever, and we can work towards that over 4 years instead of trying to get Pro Rel passed in 2027 and then scrambling to get stuff done. So that's the biggest part of it to me.
Yep, absolutely. We will definitely be keeping an eye on this over the next couple of years as we inch ever closer to Division I sanctioning, as well as promotion relegation within the USL system of leagues. Jacob, in the meantime, did we get a final out of the Greenville-Asheville game?
Yeah, Greenville hit that last PK and moved on, advancing 4-2 or 4-3 in PKs. I haven't checked the other scores here. Let's see. Chattanooga Red Wolves advanced on PKs against NJ Alliance. Hartford beat a team called Shockers. I don't know what that is. Miami FC beat Naples United. FC Naples beat Sarasota Paradise. Westchester, who is a new League One team this year, beat Motown. Loudon, who we know from USL Championship, beat Westchester United. Foro is beating Texoma, so that would be a cup set. And I believe They are, I don't know, it just says break. I think that they are at the halftime break in extra time, if I'm not mistaken. And then let's see. Like I said, Greenville won, and then Tulsa Athletic is tied with FC Tulsa 0-0 in the 81st. If Tulsa Athletic could kind of pull one out there, that would be the biggest upset of the night. We still do have 2 more matches going on. Starting at 8:30, we have newcomer to USL League One, AV Alta, who Christina and I at least had the pleasure of meeting some of their fans in Los Angeles during the Open Cup. They came to the tap house bar thingy that we went to before the match and celebrated with us a little bit. They take on Ventura County Fusion. And then this says LA Galaxy 2, which I'm almost positive is no longer known as LA Galaxy 2. That's what it says here on my screen, is playing Laguna United. So still a few more matches to go as we come up. And Justin says that Athletics... Oh, yeah. Tulsa Athletic is down a man. And so... And we are not in this first round of U.S. Open Cup action because it is only for the championship teams that did not make the playoffs last year, which means our opponent coming up on Saturday, El Paso Locomotive, does play midweek. They play tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And so, granted, I'm not sure we'll see a ton of their starters get a whole lot of minutes, but you never know, especially with El Paso's history in the U.S. Open Cup. So... But that's your U.S. Open Cup update for right now.
All right, perfect. So yeah, USL Open Cup 2025 edition is underway. New Mexico United obviously entering in the 3rd round. So we do still have a couple weeks before we get into the tournament. And then in the round of 32, you have all 16 MLS clubs entering then. So between this week and all of this week, you'll see the bottom 8 USL championship teams. And then,
USL League One,
USL League One,
and then the lower divisions, and then the winner of all the games that we see this week will play each other. The winners will play each other for the second round.
Second round, yep. And then you'll see the top 8 USL or top 16 USL championship clubs in the 3rd round.
Mm-hmm.
So. There you go. All right. So we have a lot going on tonight.
We do. Before we go any further, I want to give away some stuff. We got a few people I noticed in the chat. Nick B over here, who is in here waiting to see if he wins a jersey or a kit and some tickets. You know, there's some other people that put in for it. So FC Tulsa just went up 1-0 on Tulsa Athletics. So we are going to give that away right now. Again, this beautiful kit right here, signed by 11 of the players. It is the new kit that we are wearing this year, the Glitch kit. So we will be giving away that and 3 club level tickets courtesy of Christina and Mama Christina and Kelly. And so let's do that right now. I'm going to go ahead and boop, share this little bad boy here. So not a lot of entries this year compared to last year, which means if you did enter, you have a way better chance than you did last year. Last year, I don't remember exactly how many it was, but it was a lot. So I'm going to click the button. It's going to spin. Whoever it lands on is the winner. I'll reach out to you if you're not listening. And then if for whatever reason you only wanted the kit or you only wanted the tickets, then next week we can spin it again, or later this week I'll come on and spin it again, and I'll give away the tickets to somebody else. So without further ado, here we go.
Yeah, the tickets are for this Saturday, so we're going to have to figure that out before next week.
Oh, Josh, so close. So close, Josh. But Rob, our junior, I will reach out to Rob. He entered on Facebook. So I will reach out to Rob and let him know that he was our winner. So that's fun. I almost bought a second Cherry Red kit, which we'll talk about here in a minute, and wanted to do it again with that. But Rob wins the kit, wins the tickets, unless I talk to him and he's going to give us the tickets back. That is how it's going to be. So glad we did that. I love giving away free stuff, and hopefully we can do a little bit more of that this year. But that's it. We're done with that. Let's move on and talk about some fun stuff as well.
4-0 has taken a 2-1 lead. Extra time.
Cup set.
There we go. AV Alta. Yeah, everything else is underway now. Well, look, man, 4 red cards tonight. I was just looking at that.
A lot of red cards in the Open Cup, man.
A lot of red cards. All right, fun stuff. Quickly, do want to touch on the New Mexico Runners. The New Mexico Runners had a 2-match away series over the weekend against Chihuahua Savage 2. It did not go well. They lost on Friday night by a final score of 23-9, and then lost on Saturday the 15th by a final of 22-4. The Runners do have 1 match remaining on their schedule. That is this Sunday, the 23rd, where they are hosting the Empire Jets over at the Rio Rancho Event Center, 3:05 p.m. on Sunday. So go support the Runners in their final game of the season, and hopefully they can pick up a win to close that out. So when do we get to see Jabong here? We don't know. Let's see the winners tier list.
Oh yeah, we can do
I
that.
agree. We can do that. So on the while you're pulling that up, on the Jabong front, we know that things have we've seen that things have moved a little bit. Apparently, Jabong has started following the club on social media.
Nice.
Other than that, nothing's been announced yet. So there's a potential it could come any day. There's a potential it may not come until next week. There's no way of knowing. So I don't know. The club likes to do announcements on Wednesdays, so maybe tomorrow. Your guess is as good as mine. So
I'm sure they're not thrilled if this truly is a leak.
Well,
No
the
wonder
hard part.
David Carl's got his hands full.
The hard part with doing deals with MLS is that they operate differently than USL teams, and so a lot of their stuff gets put out pretty much right away. And so it doesn't surprise me that because it was with the USL team or with an MLS team that it got out early. I think we see it within probably not this week, but next week. Zico, unfortunately, I believe will be out this week is my guess because he plays on the 25th, which is Tuesday. So my guess is he will not be here this week, and we won't get Usman here before then. So that could mean Gideon gets some run. We'll start to talk about Vegas here in just a second, and I hope it means that we don't see some other names that that will come up later, but we'll see. We'll see for sure. Let me work on this picture real quick. You guys can start with the Vegas news and or the Vegas match, and we'll get going.
Yeah. So obviously on Saturday night, New Mexico United had their second match of the season. This one an away match against Las Vegas Lights FC. The return of Dennis Sanchez to Las Vegas, a team he coached last year, and turned them around. 31-point difference over 2023 into 2024. Let's go take a look at the highlight package from Saturday, and we will take a look back at one heck of a match between these two teams. If
It doesn't like you, Seth.
it's for whatever reason, like it just hasn't been wanting to load, but it is running tonight. Doesn't seem to be buffering as it was last week. Yeah, but I mean, going into this match last weekend, Jacob, you and I both predicted wins for United. We both thought things were going to go well, but I don't think we quite expected the match to go this way. Obviously United, maintained a lot of the possession early. This match got very physical, or far more physical than I thought it would be. It kind of caught me off guard a bit watching this on Saturday. Now, you were there in person.
It was.
Did it seem to you as if there was something that happened between them? We've never seen this kind of physicality between these two clubs before.
See, I'm not really like it. It didn't stick out. The physicality didn't stick out to me. I think there was a yellow card that was dished out that, in my opinion, was probably more worthy of a red card than Kalen Ryden's was last week, but it gets called a yellow card instead. And maybe that was like the beginning of the physicality. Maybe they were a little upset because of that. What a rip by Hurst, man. Hurst is playing so good. But it didn't stick out to me. It just seemed like a physical match. I think there was probably a little bit more animosity with Sanchez on the sideline for us. I imagine his former players that played for him last year, especially, wanted to prove like, hey, you made a mistake. But other than that, I didn't. Nothing really. Here's that yellow card right here. I mean, that is pretty dang close right there. But
let's back this up here just a second. Now,
Yeah.
Christina, let's get your take on this here first.
Oh, 100%. Like I still stand by. I didn't agree with that card for Ryden. I think he was trying to avoid colliding with the Sacramento player, but this is definitely one of those professional fouls that I think would qualify for that DOGZO or whatever the acronym is. Yeah, that should have been a red. But then also, did Las Vegas even get a single card, or was it all United?
It was all United, I believe.
So maybe, I don't know. I feel like there was some frustration on my part for sure, where I felt like it was a little one-sided.
Well, and what's weird is Elton is actually normally a very good official in my eyes, and usually calls it pretty fair. But there was definitely some small stupid stuff that he got butthurt over and carded United for. But I'll tell you, as we were like being there in the stadium, there wasn't a whole lot of he was making some calls in Vegas's favor, but nothing felt earth-shattering. Nothing felt like crazy, like it was too much of an issue. If anything, I think we got the best call of the night with that yellow card instead of a red card for Herbert. But yeah, I think the physicality and the officials, while present, obviously didn't really have too much of an effect on the overall outcome, in my opinion. Here you see some pressing that Vegas tries to get cute and ends up turning the ball over in their box, which is never good. We'll talk about Sergio here in a little bit. I wasn't a fan of this cross that he did right here, even though it worked out. But I don't know where he was going with that. But it ended up working out in the long run, as it came back and fell right to the one and only Mackenzie Gaines, who slots it into probably the emptiest net I've ever seen in my life. And then we kept the pressure up after going up 1-0 and just kept going and kept going. Here, a bad pass deflection, but then some miscommunication. Two kind of big mistakes, in my opinion, leads to these first two goals for United. But it was our pressure that kind of caused those mistakes and us pushing and pushing and pushing. And so I felt really good at this point, obviously, about how we were playing and what we were doing. I was concerned. We saw a completely different defensive approach than we did last week. Last week, Sacramento pressed us pretty high, caused some issues there, but gave us tons of space to operate if we could get past that front row or front line of defense. And Vegas was the exact opposite. Vegas said, here's the ball. We're going to put 5 at the back, and you're going to have to get past us somehow.
I have a problem right here. Elton Garcia should have backed him up on that.
Oh, a ton. Yes, a ton. But that ball by Valentin Noel was just freaking gorgeous. And so I wasn't even mad at this point. I was like, ew, tip of the hat. Probably should have backed him up, but we could have done some things maybe earlier to prevent that, maybe stepped up a little sooner. But that ball was just beautiful. As much as I don't want to give opposing teams credit. It's Vegas, and I picked them high, so I will at least give them some. And then, we see pressure. Obviously, when a team is down late in the match, they're just going to fight and fight and fight. We talked about it a lot. And that's what Vegas does here. We have some chances to get rid of this or to get rid of that. This doesn't end up leading to anything, luckily, but they definitely put the pressure to us there towards the end. I will say, what's up, Tom? You missed the giveaway. You did not win. I apologize, but thanks for coming on anyways. The Lights looked like a competent team. I'm not sure they're going to finish third like I predicted, and it's a completely different style than they played last year.
That it is. Yeah, you certainly in this, we talked about their match last week where, Tampa Bay had a mistake at the back. Here you saw Las Vegas with multiple mistakes at the back. Going forward, I think that's where a lot of their issue is going to be this year, is at the back. After seeing them live and really getting a chance to look at it and break it down. Going forward, they certainly have some pieces. They've got a lot of pace. And this shot here, just, it's a lack of reaction from us. It's, we didn't step to him. We gave him way too much space. I mean, you can't fault Alex on that. I mean, it's a hell of a shot. Great placement on that ball. But yeah, you see no one steps to him. I think maybe it's out of caution after the penalty we gave up last week. I don't know, but yeah, here for the final 20 minutes. I mean, Vegas just took it to us.
To me, that second goal, one, obviously brilliant shot. Two, the ball into the box doesn't actually go into the box, and it loops over everybody's head. You see Seymour step up towards the middle of the pitch to guard that, and then it goes over his head. But Seymour, and I can't tell who it is necessarily, they run towards the guy.
I think it was Zico.
But he's also running away. Like, he's not going towards the box. He takes his first touch. His first touch takes him away from goal. And so they're not going to come barreling in there in that particular scenario. So I don't fault anybody for not stepping up there. Yeah, so I don't fault anybody for not stepping up there. They try. They run towards him. The ball's just going away from everybody.
See, Will stops there. But like you see him take this stutter. Aquele, turns. I mean, I think if you take another step or two at him,
Aquele taking another step. Aquele taking another step's not going to do anything. Aquele is 5 foot tall.
Well, I think it slows him down. I think it makes him rethink that shot. It's just like closing someone down in basketball, or stepping up, stuttering and slowing down a running back who's trying to cut outside, right? I think if you take that step to him, slow him down, he's going to have to stop and take another look at what he's doing. And I don't think he gets that shot off.
When he takes that first touch and that ball is going away from him, he doesn't even look up. He's got his head down on that ball, and he's kicking that thing no matter what. Maybe another step and we get a piece of it, but he's not rethinking that and going somewhere else with it. He's just not. He has his mind made up that he's going to shoot. But at the end, now I'll tell you, being there in person, a few things were going on. One, I was not super thrilled with the Curse's behavior. Not that it was like terrible. Like it was very cliquish. Like we showed up and nobody even like batted an eye at us. Usually I see the Curse interact pretty well with other fan bases. Here they did not, for whatever reason. They were talking crap when, frankly, I thought it was very stupid to be talking crap at certain times. And in particular, there was a group in front of us to our right that had 6 kids in it, like teenagers, like either young college or high school age. 5 of which were Vegas fans, and 1 was a United fan. When Vegas tied it up, those 5 Vegas fans were hilarious and almost took the sting of Vegas tying it up out of it completely. I also had a little bit of money that I stood to win if New Mexico won. So when Vegas tied it up that late, I was pretty gutted. But then enter Marlon Vargas, who I still think it's probably Seymour's goal, technically. but it's Vargas that creates this out of nothing on a corner with the damn near Olympico, and pandemonium ensues. And holy cow, like what a match to go to. What a weekend for me and my family there, or my wife and friends there in Vegas, and the other United fans that made the trip. It was spectacular. Christina, you obviously watched it from home. Was it did you watch? Do you watch with your family when you're there? Was mom?
Sometimes, but my mom and sister were en route to Italy.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. um, so I just watched by myself on Saturday, but I mean, this might be jumping the gun a little bit, but I feel like Vargas was definitely my man of the match. I mean, he
Mhm.
essentially had 2 assists. That Olympico, though, I mean, I feel like if it was just left alone, it would have gone in. But thank goodness Will was there to just solidify and make sure that it did go in.
Yeah, because there was a guy right there, a defender right there. So, and it's kind of like the Seymour goal in the playoffs, right? That hit the bar and bounced sideways and then bounced out, and there was commotion. Like Seymour definitely being there to put it in to where there was no doubt, right? If he doesn't do that and that ball's kind of coming parallel to the line, and then a defender knocks it out before it's quite for sure, we might not be celebrating as much. So I think Seymour deserves it. Vargas also deserves it, but just a huge win there. Now, before we in the agenda, I had mentioned doing kind of a 3 up and 3 down. Since there's 3 of us, I figured we could all bring 3 things: player, tactic, position group, whatever we want to talk about, that we thought status went up and was performed well. So, Christina, was yours Vargas, or do you got something else for us?
I was going to say yes, Vargas.
Yes.
You know, I felt like he didn't really get a whole lot of time at the end of last season. So it's nice to see him, you know, starting the game full 90 plus and then coming in so clutch. I'm a little embarrassed to say that I had already kind of written it off. Like, man, this sucks. I know I should be glad for 1 point, but ouch. And I was also talking some shit about El Paso.
Yeah.
So then I was feeling a little sheepish for doing that, because look what happened to us. But yeah, Vargas saved my my butt there on that shit talking. So for sure, I was really pleased to see his performance. He put in a shift.
Yep, that he did. For me, I like seeing the press come back. I think that, you know, we didn't necessarily do a lot of it week 1. And this is probably the most aggressively we've pressed since Troy was here. And it caused all sorts of havoc in that defensive third for Las Vegas. Do I think it's something we need to do each and every week? Probably not, at least not to that extent. But you saw what happened when we put pressure on them around the back. We even got a shout from when playing it out of the back goes wrong. For what happened on Saturday. So I think the tactic worked. I think it shows that we do have some more athleticism than we've had in the past couple of years. I do think it shows, particularly on the second goal, you know, Vargas and Hurst, you're just not stopping on that play, because it would have been easy to back off and let them clear, but for them both to keep closing down on that defender and force a second mistake and, you know, get that 2-0 edge. Yeah, I'd love seeing that tactic again.
Well, it's funny. So I did 3, my own 3 ups, just so I knew I'd let you guys go first, and then if you guys took my first 2, that I would have a third. And lo and behold, you did. Vargas was clearly the guy that I thought stood out the most. He's a guy, you know, he came in, we were excited when he came in on loan last year, but then he didn't really perform. He didn't really kind of get the minutes that we thought he might get. And I wasn't sure. And then when we re-signed him this year, I was like, okay. And then he's looked good in the off season or the preseason, but this game he put a stamp on, man. He was that beautiful. He was a great spot at that number 10, pulling some strings, doing this and doing that. get, like Christina says, he basically has 2 assists or a goal and assist if you want to give him at least half credit on the Olympico. And then the press, very fruitful, looked good. So those were my first 2. So I'll move to my third one, and that's Greg Hurst, who we saw him last week. I praised him last week for dropping back and his hold-up play as we needed an outlet to get out of that press. So he'd drop back to midfield and get the ball. And then we'd get it out of there. He'd get it out of there. He'd hit Gaines on a run or a Collie on a run. Well, this week we didn't have that space. And so how was he going to be able to perform there? And he does good at occupying space. He gets the goal eventually. So now he's 2 for 2. He's on pace for 30 goals. So it's only 1 week, but Hurst is going to score 20 goals. Prediction is still on pace to happen. And I was just very impressed with how he's been playing. And it makes me wonder what happens when Among is fully fit and healthy and how we go about getting both of them minutes. But it's a great problem to have, I think, especially with the way Hurst is playing. So Vargas, the press, and Greg Hurst were my 3 ups for sure. And so thank you guys for talking about all 3. So I didn't have to pick which one I wanted to talk about.
Absolutely.
On the flip side of that,
oblige.
yeah. Well, and I think Vargas was probably an obvious one. The press one I think was a little less obvious, but also that's how we scored. So on the flip side of up, though, we have down. And we did give up a 2-goal lead, obviously. There were some things that I would venture to say were not the best outings by some guys or position groups, something like that. So on the flip side of the up, what did you guys have as your down? We'll start with Seth this time.
Oh, good, because I didn't want to say mine.
Well, I had a couple here. And I know this is going to be unpopular with one of our viewers, one of our listeners. Gideon Zelalem.
Yeah.
To be fair, he did say, he commented himself and said, Zelalem looked bad. So he understands. He knows.
That was awful. I was really hoping to see him out there and really get an idea of what he could do. But this was not a Jackson Dubois, come on, yellow card, cheer for him moment. You know, this is a Gideon Zelalem coming on, yellow card, what the fuck are you doing moment. And he very nearly got a
nervous?
second.
Like, do you think it was nerves?
Maybe. I don't know, but you know, he probably was moments away from getting sent off in this match. Because he committed another foul not too long after that, right on the edge of the box. And it's like, what are you doing? I was not impressed with his touches. I was not impressed with his decision making. It
also looked like that first goal that Vegas got. It felt I'd have to watch it back, but in the moment, it seemed like it started with him. The breakdown seemed like he just was kind of, not hustle into the ball, just kind of do, and they just flew right up the right side.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you could start. Yeah, he had some bad touches, poor decision making. I definitely think he contributed. It seemed like he was a step slow. I don't know. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt on this, but I was not impressed with his initial debut.
Christina, was that also yours?
Well, it's kind of, I had 2. It was kind of split between 2.
Was it the same position?
No, but I still don't want to say, but I will. Because I feel like I'm being a hater, but like Sergio just, he gets on my nerves. Seth was a whole lot nicer in our chat than I was being. I think the words lazy and sloppy came out of me. It felt, but what did you say, Seth? That he just seemed, his timing was off?
Yeah, his timing was off. If you want, because you want some of those passes, particularly trying to enter the final third. And Jacob, I don't know if you pulled up that account you saw over on Blue Sky again, but just watching Sergio trying to make those final third entries, he just wasn't on the same page, and he just looked off with his timing.
Yeah. I'll step in, Christina. I'll talk crap.
Thanks.
We hear good thing. We heard good things. He performed okay in preseason. And then both games now that he's appeared in the regular season, he's looked like the same old Sergio. He has looked scared to go forward. And when he does go forward, he looks, or he's just not making those connections and making those passes properly. In the second, or in our first goal, I mentioned, he does good. He steps. He's given the gift of this outside of the foot, whatever the hell that was, from the Vegas defender. And then he promptly, you can see him glance over his shoulder. Akale is at the edge of the 18, and he is making a run, kind of. But Sergio just gets the ball, doesn't look again, and then passes it right to the Vegas center back instead of, I don't know, shooting it, or I don't know. Don't come at me with stats, Justin. The eye test tells me he's not where he needs to be. And so, to me, with Zico going out on international duty and the Jabong news not coming in yet, I'm not nervous for El Paso necessarily. I think we have talent elsewhere to make up for a few things in the midfield. One, Pondeka needs to play. I don't know where he was. I don't know if he maybe got a knock in that first match because he came off at halftime for a reason I am not 100% sure about, as far as I thought he was playing well. He was in the 18, but maybe he still wasn't quite 100% fit. So I don't know who it's going to be in the midfield against El Paso, but Pondeka needs to be one of the names. And I would prefer if Gideon, who, yes, looked bad in this match, we don't know, like, there are reasons that could have been that we're not sure about. We have a track record with the three of us, especially the three of us on this podcast, of him not meeting the eye test for a while now, for over a year now. And so, and I haven't been a fan of his game since he came here in the first place. So I hope that it's Pondeka and either Zalelum or somebody else, maybe Seymour up there, and start Jalen out at right back, who you just put up a question there. I'll get to that. We can get to that right now. But Sergio was definitely one of my downs as well. I have another one, though, and there were a couple. Rivas, one scoring, like we scored against Vegas, but when they were in their low block and they were forcing us to possess and break them down, we did not get anything really there. We had a few shot opportunities, but overall, scoring against that low block, which I know is tough for everybody, kind of let me down. But the rest of it is, my main down was center backs not named Talon Maples. We see Ryden get the red card last week. We see Herbert get beat and have to commit a tactical foul that we were lucky wasn't a red card. And that led to, I think the yellow card that he had there is what led to Herbert coming off at halftime. Maybe there was an injury, but I don't think so. He looked good afterwards, coming up and talking to the fans. But we see Jalen Lindsay come in. When I saw him warming up and expected him to come in, one, I thought it would be for Seymour, but when I saw that it was for Herbert, I was like, okay, Herbert's coming out. Seymour's going to drop into that center back role, and Lindsay will take the spot on the right outside. And that's not what happened. So yes, Lindsay did look good. I don't consider Lindsay a long-term center back option because I think he's going to be our right back of the season. So I'm not including him in this, but it's Ryden and Herbert, to me, that their stock is way down right now. Herbert's was way up after last week, but this week he did not look as good, did not look as confident, and that led to having to make a change where, Lindsay coming in and playing right center back. I had the same thoughts, and it didn't end up happening. So, just curious what happened there. and disappointed that Ryden and Herbert aren't as good as I thought they were going to be to start the season. Did you guys have any thoughts on Jalen coming in and playing that right center back role, which I didn't know he had him in him, but he did look good?
Oh, I thought he looked amazing. Wasn't expecting it, but I don't know, a jack of many trades. He was fun to watch.
No, he was good. He was effective. I am surprised he wasn't outside. From somewhat of a physical aspect, I know Will's a bit bigger, so you kind of want that larger body on the inside. But Lindsey played well. I can see it. I don't think that's not a natural position for him.
Yeah.
But I think it's something he can slide into and fill in. I think he gives more. I think he gives more athleticism than Will does, which I think is why he was in there.
100%.
But from a physicality standpoint, I think Will, the bigger body, that's what you typically see there. So, but I think in this match though, with the pace that Las Vegas had up top, and the way that they were attacking through those inner channels, having someone with Lindsey's athleticism and speed was the better play, and it worked out well.
And I thought about this after the match as well. We've seen it both against Sacramento and here. Once we get the ball in our half in possession, we are very much a 2 at the back system. Both of those fullbacks have been bombing up, whether it's Gloucester, well, it's been Gloucester and Seymour, or we saw Lindsey do it a little bit in the second half last week. They very much get up in the attack, and it's Talon and Herbert or Talon and Ryden that are the last line of defense if anything happens. And I think if you switch and put Seymour there, Talon's fast, but he's not as fast as Jalen or Herbert are. You switch and put Seymour there, and it's very much the same situation as having Ryden and Maples there, where you don't have a ton of speed. You have a lot of heart, but not a lot of speed. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Seymour play center back at all this year, because of that fact that when we are in possession, we only have 2 defenders back there. And I'm not sure Seymour is the guy that we want back there trying to get back if it's just a 2-on-2 situation. And so, no, not as that central. Point.
I'd rather have him as that outside back. And the point about Jabong too, if he does end up coming here, we know that he's being brought in as a defensive mid, someone who can also play that center back role, as we talked about, last week. So I think you see him there more too, because you look at Lindsey, you look at Herbert, you look at Jabong. All 3 of them are going to have, they're all going to be a bit more pacey, have a bit more athleticism than Ryden and Maples. And I love Maples to death, but he's not the guy you want trying to chase down some of these, quicker forwards in the league.
For sure.
And like you said on Saturday, there are a number of times, and I even tweeted about it. You saw all 10 of our outfield players in the attacking half. So in a situation like that, where if we do turn the ball over, you need people that can get back quickly. And Maples can make quick decisions. Maples can get back. But, you throw some of these other, like I said, you look at some of the other forwards around the league, and, there is some concern about that pace. So I do think we see guys like Lindsey as a second center back in those situations, because I don't see Talon running down, Cal Jennings or even Amando, guys like that. So
for sure. But Jalen performed well. We'll see. We'll get into El Paso here in just a few minutes. But I am very curious to see who starts at center back other than Talon Maples coming up this weekend. Unless you guys, I had a great time. It was a great win. We needed those 3 points, in my opinion. Those were 3 massively important points. And to see the club fight, which we saw last year as well. Even if they got down, they didn't give up. They fought back, and we fight back. We earn a corner. We get the winner, and bag 3 points that I think are going to go a long way this season for sure. So do either of you have any closing thoughts on that match? Anything that we didn't touch on that you would like to touch on?
No, just thank goodness for Vargas.
Yes.
Because
So
I know it's only the second game, but I felt like we needed those 3 points.
we desperately did, I think. Like they were massively important going into the home opener. We could have gone away, like to go against Sacramento and then Vegas, who was really good last year, beat Tampa in week 1. Had we come out of there with 1 point out of those 2 matches, it's not the end of the world necessarily, but we definitely wanted to win, needed to win, and as Christina said, thanks to Marlon Vargas, we get the winner there. Which we move on to the home opener, right? We have 3, 4, 5 days now, 4 days now before the home opener. We got a few little tidbits of news here and there. We got first these opening day flags, which Christina, you had not seen until today. Or
I
yesterday.
haven't seen them either.
I sent it yesterday, I believe. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here.
Yeah, I for one love them.
I mean, they are gorgeous, I think.
Yep.
And completely different than the normal flag. And I'm very excited to get my hands on one come Saturday. But because it is so different than what we're used to seeing, to me, it's a combination of the artist series posters that we got a couple years ago and the flag. It's like a mind meld of those two things.
I wanted to ask, because I saw this and I was having a discussion with my girlfriend about it. I said, I like the colors. I like the idea. I said, I'm not sold on this flag. It is very different from all the others that we've done. Was there a story behind this one? What,
Funny you should mention that.
I feel like it's also just embracing the philosophy of where art and sport meet. That's one of the cool things about United and Meow Wolf.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you go to United's social media right now, there's a video of the
hide
artist.
Rob's email address.
Stop screen. If you go to the social media account, New Mexico United social media account right now, it has a little 2.5 minute video of the artist talking about it. I have yet to watch that video. It came out, I believe, right after we, either right before or right after we started podcasting. Yeah, it came out 3 hours ago, so I guess I could have had time, but I didn't have time. So yeah, there are, there's got to be a reason for it. I'm a fan of combining those two things and making these flags a little more artistic and stuff. I think it's beautiful, and I'm excited for it, as is Christina.
So my daughter has state dance. Fortunately, it's at the pit, so just a parking lot away.
Oh, nice.
But she's slated to dance at 2:10, so I'm hoping they're going to be on time because I'm going to need one of those flags.
Well, luckily, the club level
usually
has extras, has more there than anything else. So that's where we'll be coming in on Saturday. And then the other thing that they put out this last week, obviously the Lobos were in the Mountain West Conference tournament in Vegas, which is one of the reasons why I was there. We see Peter make an appearance on the Mountain West Conference social media, giving away some tickets. And they also say, hey, in order to show solidarity with the Lobos, we're going to have this bad boy as our keeper kit for this week. And my gosh, it's gorgeous.
I like it. I want it.
Absolutely beautiful. Christina, you had not seen this until yesterday either, correct?
Yes, and Cherry, right? Perfect name for it.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
It's a beautiful kit. What you're looking at right there is what I ordered, essentially. I went ahead and ordered one. I had Tim Bacchus' name put on it. Just absolutely beautiful. And
I'm gonna put Cody's name on it.
I thought about, you can't put past player's name on it otherwise I would have. I thought about putting Shakes, but I went with Tim Bacchus since he is our number one and has been for several years. And I, unlike some people, like Tim Bacchus, and so
on Blue Sky, there's a way to create your own sort of list of accounts that will pop up that you aren't necessarily following, and so I of course followed like a USL list. But it's been introducing me to more teams, and I can't remember what team it was. I think it was a League One team, maybe. They have a red kit, but it looks like a brick wall. And that was the only thing that I thought maybe could really have taken this to another level, was like a cherry brick wall keeper kit.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we had an eventful week on social and everything else, but it all leads up to Saturday. Oh, we're gonna have a
So
special
quickly, let me ask. So obviously, Pete and the club went out of their way to
Right.
to help promote the Lobos and shout out the Lobos and all of that. Now, there was some discussion on social media about, Lobo fans turning around and doing the same thing for United. There wasn't a whole lot of support there from what I gathered. And I know that caused a minor stir. Do you have a problem with people being like, yeah, no, we're not going to support United?
Go ahead, Christina.
I mean, like, I feel sad for them. They're missing out. Like, sad story.
Yeah, basically, shame on them.
I mean, it's not like there were any other basketball games going on at the time of the match, right?
No, it was over.
Yeah, so I mean, if at least there was other basketball games, I would say like, they went out there to go see basketball. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's pretty lame to not want to support a fellow New Mexico team who was putting out an effort to reach out and support them.
Well, are you talking about multiple people, Seth, or are you talking about Lobo Gabe?
Basically, there were some comments about, Lobo, supported Lobo fans, help support United, blah blah blah, and the response is like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that.
Okay, I didn't see those. I saw
I know there were some on Reddit, and I know there were some in a couple other places as well. But
Reddit's just full of trolls, anyways, so who cares? But no, I thought it was cool. I did see the people that got the tickets from Peter. They were not United fans. They were Lobo fans, but they made the trek out. We got them. David got them some scarves. They set up there near the curse. Thought it was a good time. Looked like they had a good time. It was a fun match to go to. Mm-hmm. The Vegas Stadium isn't terrible. It's not great.
It was empty.
Oh, it was very empty. But it's Vegas, so I think it kind of always is. I will say, if Sacramento can claim a sellout, then so can Vegas, I guess, if we're just making up numbers. So, but yeah, everything that we've talked about has led to this weekend. Home opener against El Paso. Are you ready? Like,
yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
The club announced some pre-match festivities. Remember, it's a 3:00 p.m. kickoff, not a night game. So pre-game festivities start at like 11 or 10 or something like that. There's going to be a concert. There's going to be, oh wow, I just drew a complete blank. Concert, a DJ, breakfast burritos, the whole shebang, face painting, all that jazz. It's going to be a good time like it always is. And then that leads up to the 3 p.m. kickoff against El Paso. El Paso coming off a wild 4-4 draw, like Christina mentioned, where they were up 4-0. Or 4-1, sorry, 4-1. And then give up 3 goals late, including an absolute banger from basically midfield that somehow finds the back of the net to go with Armando Moreno's bicycle kick to give them the 4-1 lead in the first place. A lot of action, not a lot of defense. What are we thinking of this match so far?
I mean, I'll start. So obviously you just mentioned El Paso had the match on Saturday. You surrender a 3-goal lead, end up 1 point or 1 point walking away with that out of that one. They also drew the week before 2-2 against Colorado Springs. Now they can score. they also can't defend. And I think that's my bigger takeaway from this is that they can't defend. And they didn't necessarily look great against Colorado, but there are concerns about El Paso. I do think that they do have some talented players. Obviously we know Amon Hu, as Josh said in chat. But it's, will they be able to break down United? That's going to be the big thing. I think they are unorganized at times. And if you watch that match on Saturday, those goals were not necessarily like, oh, we're gonna pull you out of position, we're gonna break you down. Amondo's came off of inside the box, off a rebound. It was one that's opportunistic.
Two of their goals were and it might have been both of Mondo's goals were rebound goals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did hate watch the match. I don't love seeing Mondo get another bicycle kick, but yeah, I feel like it was just bad clearances on Phoenix's side. Nothing spectacular in my mind. I feel like and I hate saying this, but the only player that stood out to me was Mondo. He seems to kind of have a chip on his shoulder, coming off of leaving us and going to a loser club who finished so poorly last year. I think he had 5 goals last season and now he's got 3 or 4 already in the first 2 games. So I feel like his chip on his shoulder plus his speed makes him the player to watch for us.
Yeah. I mean, Jacob, for you, watching what they've done the past 2 weeks, is there anything for you that stands out? There's just someone that jumps off the page that we should be watching, or are they not as good as they seem?
Well, I don't know how. Like, to me, they don't seem that good. So, they get the 2-2 draw with Colorado Springs. I'm having a hard time remembering anything about that match. I'm the lowest of us on Colorado Springs anyways, and that is a small rivalry match, so weird things happen in those matches. This Phoenix El Paso match was like watching pickup basketball with a bunch of 27-year-olds that don't remember how to play defense or don't care to play defense because they're not playing in a professional league. It was just chaotic and just bad. Like, Phoenix making the playoffs is going to be a surprise for me now so far with what I've seen from them. And so I think both of those teams are just below average and not very good. Amando has looked good. He's probably the one that's jumped off the page the most. The one thing that I'm curious about, so Tumi Moshibani, who they acquired last year or beginning of last year, I believe. In week 1, he played. They played a completely different formation, at least from what I've gathered, and had him out on the right. And then this week they moved him to the middle as like a false-ish number 9, and he had more of a hand in things and was able to do a few more things. I'm curious to see how they deploy him and what they do there. To me, El Paso is just a cluster right now. And I'm curious how they look, who they line up, how they line up coming out against us. It was hard to game plan for me for this match because their 2 matches have been kind of drastically different, and they're just kind of all over the place. And I don't really know what to expect, other than I do think we win.
They also got 2 red cards at the very end.
They did. 2 or what?
2.
2.
Did they get 2?
Yeah. Except the second one, the guy never left the pitch. So
that's
if I was
right.
Phoenix, I'd be pretty pissed off because he's the one that cleared out their final chance at goal. But the first red card was, I remember his name Frank because that was my dad's name. Can't remember his last name. He did stand out a little bit to me, but he won't be there on Saturday because he got the red card. So I mean, I wonder how that's going to impact them having two players out on red.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was, well, I knew it was two because I remember the whole debacle of them not pulling that guy off. But if you go to the page, it's Frank Doroma.
Jerome.
He's the only one that's listed there. So I don't know who the other one is, or if it actually was a red card, or if it was a mistake, or what happened. I don't know. But yeah, Doroma has been a good midfield presence for them. And so that is something to keep an eye on. I think we score at will against these guys, especially if they press like they did in the preseason, which is yet to be seen. I'm curious if they do decide to press, and I think if they do, much like some of our goals against, it was Alfaro, okay. Some of our goals against, or one of our goals against them in the preseason was a quick hitter from press to in the back of their own net in like 10 seconds. I think we're going to do that a couple times if they decide to press, and it could be trouble for them. So I'm curious how they just line up and what their tactics are. But if we can score on them, which I think we will, that's why Toomey and Armando are the two guys that I'm looking out for, because they're going to have to score in order to keep up with us. And I'm curious if those guys can do it against a defense that's not Phoenix, because I don't know what Phoenix was doing half the time in that match.
So are these two performances more on El Paso or on Colorado and Phoenix?
I can't speak to the Colorado match. I don't remember it for whatever reason. But the Phoenix match is 100% on Phoenix. Like, as far as El Paso's offensive performance, I think there was one, the first Armando goal, he rounds the keeper, and it's a good through ball to get him on, and that was a good offensive play. The other three were just terribly defensive plays by Phoenix, and that's what I remember. Justin, was Springs didn't look good either. So, and Springs just lost at home to Detroit, who I know Detroit's a solid team, but I think it speaks more to those two teams than it does El Paso, and I hope we can take it to El Paso and show them what an actual team looks like, hopefully. And I already know, Christina, I'm going to warn you now, because you haven't been a part of this when El Paso wins. If for whatever reason El Paso does win, there will be some clown music over our predictions and put on the USL fan page on Facebook for sure by none other than Jerry Murillo. So just
the guy that was
know,
real quiet last season, who just like
Very
disappeared
quiet.
off the face of the earth.
And then decided to put a meme up after week 1 because they drew against Springs.
Now, I will say I feel like El Paso was rivaling Phoenix when it came to diving on Saturday. So I feel like we're going to have to be, I think it's going to be chippy, and it's going to be a lot of diving on El Paso's side.
Yeah, I'm besides the goal prediction, I predict a red card somewhere.
I would not be surprised by that at all.
Yeah.
So
I always wondered who I hated more. And I always thought it was Phoenix, but at this point, I feel like I hate El Paso more than Phoenix. That kind of, I found myself rooting a little more for Phoenix than El Paso on Saturday.
It's hard, isn't it? It's so
hard.
Yeah. We talked about it. To me, El Paso's hard to really talk about right now, just the weird nature of their games and stuff. We've seen 2 United games. Who sticks out? And we kind of talked about the midfield and that situation going on there. Who do you guys want to see start in some of these questionable positions? And who are some players to watch on United side for this particular match? Christine.
I don't know about starting, but like, I really hope that Sanchez is going to utilize Bruce. I'm a little nervous. I want to see Bruce out there on the pitch. I loved how Quill would utilize him. You know, he described him as being kind of like a pesky gnat that you just like can't quite get rid of. And I just he always changes the game when he comes on. So I'm really, really hoping to see Brucey come on. I really liked what I saw with Pendeka, so I hope he's not injured. I hope it was just, maybe a small little knock or something, but I'm looking forward to seeing him. Um, Gaines has been kind of fun to see too. Um, I want to see I want to see more out of him as some consistency. I think his speed, it seemed like when Phoenix was really starting to capitalize on some plays against El Paso, it was when it was really fast paced, like 1-2 touches. So our guys really just need to be a lot cleaner
Mhm.
with their pass accuracy, and just keep pressing and be quick on the ball, quick 1-2 touches, and take advantage of the speed of some of our new guys.
Agreed. Seth?
Um, I want to see Gaines more involved. I know he had the goal. I want to see him more involved. I want to see more minutes out of Pandeka. I want to see Jalen Lindsay. Like, there's so many things that I want to see. The problem is just it's so early in the season. It's hard to really get a gauge on like everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I really want. There's certain people that I want to see more of. I want to see more involved. I would love to see Gaines with more time on the ball. I would love to see Pandeka with more time on the ball. Fernando had like 6 touches on Saturday. So I would love to see Fernando get more time on the ball, because I think there's a lot that these guys could show us. But the big thing is going to be securing the midfield. Who do we have that can do that? And this, slow down, Amando and those El Paso midfielders coming through and getting into the final third.
Yeah, like there's just a ton of things going on. Who do you think Christina starts at the right center back? Is it Ryden coming back from suspension? Is it Herbert, assuming he's healthy? Or do we see Jalen in there?
Yeah.
Boy, that's a three-way toss-up. Let's see. I'm gonna guess that Sanchez is gonna go with Ryden and give him a chance to kind of
Redeem himself.
make up, some redemption, get him, get that confidence going, get him back on the pitch.
Seth?
Unfortunately, I think Ryden's back in the starting 11.
Unfortunately, that feels like
an
unnecessary shot right there. But
I say unfortunately because I would, at this point, I'd almost rather see. Again, we talked about. I like what Callan and Tony did last season. I want to see them. I want to see those two together. I think that pairing works really well. And I know Ryden's the captain, but I think, again, I'd rather see Callan and Tony, or even Talon and Jalen.
My guess is it's not Jalen. I think with Herbert coming off and kind of the unknown there, whether that was a knock or because of the yellow card, I think it's going to be Kalen as well. I'm not upset about that. I'm not thrilled about that. I'm just kind of indifferent about it. But I do think he settles down and can have a better performance than he did against Sacramento. I'm looking at, Christina mentioned him already. I'm not sure how Bruce fits into this team right now.
Mm-hmm.
Hurst is playing incredible. We just signed Thomas Among. He's going to be fit at some point. He was in the 18 this week. He didn't get in there, but he was in the 18. I still think he's a week or two away from really being able to step in for an extended period of time. So maybe that gives Bruce a chance this week. Do we see him at the 10 if Vargas gets worn out? Do we see him on one of the wings where we have a ton of depth with Akale and Fernando and Gaines and eventually Harris? Do we see him at right back, which we saw him back there years ago? Do we see him at left back if Gloucester needs some breathing room? Like what do we do with him? I also, so far in these two matches, I think he hasn't necessarily fit the situation. he would have been nice against Sacramento, but we were down to 10 men. And so I think we see Bruce, if we're down a goal, I think we see Bruce come in for Hurst to try to push and make the other team make mistakes and capitalize on those. But I'm curious and a little sad, pessimistic about where he's going to fit in when he actually does start coming in.
Yeah, Space Kid. Brucey actually started as a fullback for us.
I think he started as on the wing.
Well, yeah,
and then he dropped to fullback.
Well, it was more that wing back, than like actually like up on the as a winger. Because he played that fullback position, it was always bombing forward with open overlapping runs and things like that. Unfortunately, I think, with Hurst and Among, and you've got Fernando, you got Quelle, you got Pondeka. Unfortunately, I don't. It's hard to see where Brucey's going to fit in because he just doesn't. He's not that prototypical forward. Maybe he does slide into that fullback position again. I would hate to say that, but that may be how you get him involved.
I mean, I'd rather see him. I feel like he put more heart and effort into being in the middle than Sergio does. Like, I would for sure rather see Bruce put in there instead of Sergio.
Yeah. I don't.
Even though that's not really his
disagree.
traditional position, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think he can just be such an energy boost for the squad and the fans. That's what the fans want to see too. I just hope he gets some minutes.
Yeah, and I could see him literally in any of the outfield spots except for center back. I could see Bruce being in there and making a difference at some point in a pinch. But it is a little disheartening that he hasn't made an appearance yet. But hopefully we have El Paso coming. When we have El Paso coming up, hopefully that means he can get in there. I'm gonna shout out one player that I'm gonna be watching this week, and that is a revitalized Will Seymour in that right back position, assuming he gets to start out there again. I think he's looked fantastic out there and has looked comfortable. He's getting involved on both sides of the ball. He's making some bombing runs or bombing runs forward and getting involved in the attack. He's getting back. He's tracking back. He's making defensive effort. It was a position he was forced into last year with the injuries, but I understand why Jalen's not necessarily out there right now after coming in late, and Seymour's kind of got a stranglehold on that position. And I want to see Jalen out there. I think Jalen in the long term is going to be a better option for us out there. But right now, Seymour's killing it. And I think if he's the one that's out there in the preseason or in the El Paso match, then we're going to be just fine. And I look for him to be able to make a difference over on that right side on both sides of the ball. With that, been going for a while. Obviously, we had the Pro Rel news drop right before it, so it extended this podcast a little bit, but we're right at the 90-minute mark. It's about that time. Christina, who wins and by how much?
The good guys, 3-1.
Seth?
3-0.
Oh, I had written 3-1 down, and then I erased it, and I put 3-0. So I'm going to go – I could double down and go 4-0 like I did last week. That didn't really work out for me. Instead, I'm going to go the other way. Instead of 3-1 or 3-0, I'm still going to say we score 3. I think they get a couple on us, cheap ones. One solid one and one cheap one late to make it interesting, but we finished 3-2 last week against Vegas. We finished 3-2 at home last year against El Paso. I'm going to go 3-2, and I do think there's a red card, like I said earlier. Either way, the home opener is always my favorite time of the year, full of optimism, full of hope. Get to see people that I haven't seen in a while. Granted, I've been to 2 preseason games this year and an away game already before the home opener, but I'm excited for it. Can't wait. Do you think we see some extracurricular activities?
Oh, probably.
Yes. It wouldn't be a derby if we didn't.
If there's a red card, who gets it?
Yuma.
Yuma from his couch.
The spirit
Yeah,
of Yuma.
exactly. The spirit of Yuma. Yeah.
I don't feel like I know the El Paso players well enough to say by name, but I don't know. There were a couple of their wingers who were just diving left and right and getting real chippy. It's definitely gonna be an El Paso player getting a red card.
Oh, I disagree. I think it's us.
Yeah, no,
I
don't
think
say
it's
that.
us. I do think it's us. Maybe I'm reverse jinxing it or something, but trying some reverse psychology. But I do think it's us. I think it's. My guess is it's probably going to be either Gloucester, who is pretty mild mannered, but I'm throwing him out there as a wild card, or one of the center backs, probably Talon. I think Talon might get one. We've had some center backs that had one red card already, probably should have been two. Why not get the third one a red card in these first three matches? So I'm going to say Talon gets one for us. And
Do we know the ref yet?
no, usually those come out either Tuesdays or Wednesdays. I have not looked. But
Okay.
at this point, I don't really care because I guess I do care some. I knew the one in Sacramento was going to be trash. I thought Elton was going to be better than what he was. A funny chat that a chant that they decided to do, the kids in front of me, every time Elton would make a call that benefited them, they would say, "Thank you, Elton." And it was a good little shot at our yelling at the referee. Them being nice to the referee was pretty funny, I thought, and a very good chant. But yeah, we'll see. Once we do know that, I will put it in the group chat for sure and maybe put it out on social media. But the last thing I do have, Mr. Rob's tier list here. So obviously he has New Mexico at number 1 there. Bit of a shocker. He's got the ugly El Paso kit in the A tier. Tulsa's kit, which I think is meh. Like, it's nice, but it's not great. I do love that Monterey Bay kit. Oakland's always solid. Lou City's purple one I really like. Colorado's I really like. I think San Antonio's probably should be higher. Lexington's is fine. I really like Birmingham's. No real shockers there other than El Paso being that high, in my opinion. Did you guys make a list, or do you have opinions on this list?
I did not make a list. I'm looking at them now. Yeah, I really did not like the way that El Paso's graffiti one looked on camera. It was just
Yeah.
like messy, busy. I get the the idea behind it and the culture of El Paso, which is like pretty cool, a nod to the city and their culture, but it just did not look great on camera.
They
I
also-
also didn't like Phoenix. Phoenix in black is just weird. I was not a fan of that.
I do like that kit though. Like the look of it, I do like that kit. I will also say that the graffiti and them being the locomotive and seeing graffiti on trains, they never really said anything about that, but there is a connection there that I do like.
Mhm.
I don't see Phoenix's on here. He must not have ranked Phoenix's.
It didn't even make it on the list.
Didn't even make it. The only one that he has too low on there, I think, is Vegas's. It's not like in a vacuum, it's not the best kit, but I think it fits Vegas very well.
Yeah, the gold.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
the script of the sponsor and the collar and the just kind of flashiness of it, I think it looks pretty good. So yeah, I will say solid list, pretty similar to mine. I appreciate it. Yes, it was only their home kits, so Phoenix's away kit is on there. I see it now. I forgot, or home kit is on there. I forgot about that. The red one down there at the bottom.
Oh
Yeah.
with the Carvana.
Yeah. We got the referees.
Hey, I know Mario.
Mario Garcia.
He's local.
Nice. So it looks like Gerald Flores is the going to be the head ref. I will look in to see how his games have gone before. Thank you, Andrew, for doing all the sleuthing to get that info. With that, guys, I think we're done. We're wrapped up. We talked about a lot of stuff here. It was a busy week in the USL landscape, in United landscape, everywhere. I appreciate both y'all taking the time to come and do this. Do you guys have some closing thoughts for us? We've been going for too long. I can't tell.
Yeah, thanks for sticking with me and dealing with my picture. I'm excited. I'm excited that we finally are getting our home opening match. I think it's fun that it's a derby home opener, and I'm looking forward to 3 more points. I believe.
Yeah. Feels like it's been too long since we had a
Ted
home
Lasso
football
season
match.
4. That was announced too.
I can't wait.
Yeah,
can't
women's
wait for
team. Even better.
Yeah,
was-
it'll be exciting. I was excited when I saw that news. I couldn't believe it.
As soon as you said I believe, I was like, oh, Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it feels like it's been far too long since we had a home football match. So excited for Saturday.
It has been a while, but it will be here. As far as I know, we will all be there. I got Rob's email, as everybody saw, so I'll get that over to you, Christina, and we can figure out how to get him those tickets. And then we'll take his jersey with us on Saturday, and we'll give it to him then. Super excited. Can't wait to be back. It's going to be a good time. We'll be back next week, of course. Talk about a little bit of Open Cup, a little bit of United, of course. Are the runners this week? I can't remember if they play this week or not.
Season
Pretty sure
finale
they
this weekend on Sunday.
Okay, so we'll talk a little
Hey,
bit of runners.
Andrew's update is good news too.
Yeah, Avialta,
Avialta,
3-1
yeah.
lead. And I believe Los Dos was up pretty big in their match too. So it doesn't look like we're going to get any cup sets tonight other than 4-0 beating Texoma. But we have 2 more days, I believe, of matches to look forward to this week. And then we'll move on to round 2. So soccer season in full swing, Open Cup, home opener, all kinds of stuff going on. We'll be back next week, Tuesday, 8 o'clock, to break that all down. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks, everybody over in the chat. I'm not even going to go through it because there were several names over there, and we've already ran long. But thank you guys so much. We'll be back next week. And until then, love y'all. Somos Niños.